Hi everyone, it's Karen here. Welcome, welcome. It's day 8 of our 24 days of tags, and today I'm featuring some Lavinia glow flowers on a distress oxide background. If you haven't joined me for the rest of my tag series, please do come and have a look. We're having a lot of fun. You can find all the videos on my YouTube channel, and it's 24 days. Each tag is 6.5 centimeters by 12.5 centimeters long, and I've cut the corners at a diagonal. The cardstock that I'm using is 330 GSM Lavinia multifarious cardstock. And today I'm going to be using Festive Berries, which is a great Christmas colour, mustard seed, black soot. Naturally, I've got Nocturne for my stamping. The stamps that I'm going to be using, I've got background script, which you can see is very faded in the background. I've got Live the Life You Love stamp, and I've just used the love word. Each of those words comes individually in the set, so you can just pick out the words that you want. So I wanted love. The glow flowers, they come in a set, and I've got the large one and the smaller ones. And then I've put on the background this elegance stencil. So I'm also going to be using some white paint for the splatters. I've got a Signal Uniball white pen, and then I've got an assortment of coloured pencils to colour in the glow flowers. So we will get started. So I'm taking my tag. The very first thing we're going to do is create the background. And I'm going to do that using Festive Berries and mustard seed and my traditional blending tools. So I'm going to start with Festive Berries. And I'm going to ink up my sponge. And I'm going to use a bit of acetate to protect my work. And then you can see I'm starting off the card, moving it in a circular motion, not too quickly. And I'm just going to bring a bit of this red down the bottom of the card. That's enough. And then I'm going to turn my card over, and I'm going to do the same from the top. The trick here is to make sure you've got enough ink on your sponge so it doesn't scratch, and to move slowly. Keep moving at circular motion, but slowly. If I move too quickly, let me show you. You'll end up with these scratch marks, and sometimes you can't get those out. So it's much better to be patient and enjoy the process. After all, that's why we craft, to relax, to enjoy the process and have fun. So you can see I'm creating a bit of this at a bit of an angle, but not too clinical really, because we don't want it to look too orchestrated. I might just bring a tiny bit of this one up a bit. Okay, I'm going to clean my mat off because I don't want that red to transfer over my yellow when I'm blending. So I just clean my work surface with water, and I've got an assortment of cotton tea towels, lint-free tea towels on my lap at all times. I'm taking mustard seed now. Again, a good amount on my sponge. And I'm going to colour the centre of our panel. Sticking to the centre for now. Okay, now as we get to the edges, you know what, I'm going to use a piece of copy paper. I have started using acetate, but when you're doing a lot of blending like this, it's harder to hold the card in place. So now what we're going to do is start on the yellow and bring it over the red, and you're pressing quite hard. And then you get the blend beginning to happen. And then I'm going to go back with my red and bring it up. So then what you're creating here is a smoother transition between the two colours with an orange in between, because red and yellow make orange. And you're going to blend them backwards and forwards until you're happy with what you've created. And I'm going to do the same on the other side. I'm just going to make sure I haven't got any red on my yellow, otherwise we'll end up with red right in the middle of our yellow panel. So again, taking the yellow and bringing it over the join line. Pressing quite hard down. And then again, taking my red and making sure that that's blended smoothly in. So my top transition looks better than the bottom. So you just go over it again. Until you get something that you like. Right, I'm happier with that. A much smoother blend. Now actually that bit's better than that bit. We could go on, but I will do this one more. And then in the end it won't matter because we're going to put a couple of extra layers on the top anyway. But there we have it. I'm quite happy with that. Just clean my mat off before we start the next layer. So now I'm going to take my stencil, my Elegance stencil, and I am going to, whilst I've laid it flat down, I'm going to spritz it just with water, and then I'm going to tap it off, dry my mat, and then I'm going to turn it water side down onto my tag, and then just blot it with a piece of kitchen towel. So what that's going to give us is a lovely textured background. Isn't that fun? I'm just going to blot it to dry. You can let it dry on its own. So that's our next layer of texture. And I'm just going to let that dry. Or you could give it a blast with the heat gun. So you do want this to be completely dry before you start your next step. If you don't, some of it will stick to the next layers. So I'm going to take this gorgeous background script. I think this was one of the first stamps, well, in the first set of stamps that I ever bought from Lavinia. Taking my Nocturne and inking up my entire stamp. Now, because I want this to be really, really light, I'm going to stamp it off several times. Making sure you've got it up the right way because there are hearts on it. So there we have that lovely script in the background, really soft. I actually, because this is quite a new ink pad, I stamped it off 3 times before I stamped it on my original. I did try it with the grey, the Morning Mist in the VersaFine Clair, but I didn't. I prefer the look of the black. So now we're going to take our gorgeous glow flowers and we're going to ink those up. And I'm going to take the largest one first. that is going to be my focal point. So I'm going to pop him. I want most of him in the red, and then these two are going to be predominantly in the yellow band. So we're going to pop him up there. And we're going to do the same for the smaller two, just making sure that their little heads are in the yellow section. This one I'm going to do slightly off the page. And again, this one is going to be fully on the page, but still in the yellow. Beautiful. Now I'm just going to clean my mat so this doesn't distract you. There we go. Lovely. I'm really happy with that. Just a note on cleaning my stamps. I do try to clean them straight away. This is just water that I've spritzed it. I always work with a cotton tea towel or a lint-free cloth on my lap, and I just give them a good clean as soon as I can after I've been stamping. And the same with my background script. Now, in terms of how I store my stamps, this is, you know, it's such a great topic of debate, isn't it? And that the only answer is that whatever works for you. Each of us have a different workspace, a different setup. I'm very blessed that I have a table that runs across the width of the room, and to my left I have shelves, floor to ceiling. And in those shelves I've got boxes, and I store my stamps on these tabbed sheets in the boxes like that. And then they're to hand when I want to get them out. But honestly, it just depends on your setup and your space. And of course, I guess, how many stamps you have. Now I'm going to take my love. As I said, this is one stamp from that set. And I'm just going to pop 3 of those around my tag. I'm very happy with this. It's looking good, isn't it? Even if I say so myself. Right, now we're going to get to the fun bit. This is the colouring. So to colour this, I'm using my Inktense pencils. Yes, Inktense are designed for watercolours, and if you add water to them, they blend beautifully. This is a lovely boxed set. But you know what? You do not need to use water with them because they blend beautifully without water. And so that's what I'm going to do here. I love the colorway of these, and they're just smooth and will work really softly over these flowers. Now what I'm going to do is color in a couple of yellows and oranges across my yellow and orange glow flowers, and then a couple of reds and purples across this glow flower. When I say colour, that's probably a loose term, right? Because you'll see as I go through, I'm not really colouring. I'm just creating a bit of colour in some of these bobbles on the glow flowers. And then afterwards, I'm going to go back in with a white pen and create some random dots and lines which will make them look more round and pop. So you'll see as I colour them, I've got my 3 yellows, orange, a colour, And that's all I'm doing. I'm not colouring the entire circle in, just very randomly, because we want some of that yellow that we had underneath to shine through. That'll look as though the light is catching these flowers in different ways. So you can see that's what I'm going to do for all of these gorgeous seed heads. So there you have all your little glow flowers popping, and you can see what I did with the white pen is I held it pretty straight up. That way you get a good line. Sometimes if you hold it at an angle, it scrapes. So by holding it directly up right, you kind of get that solid line. So by just colouring either the bottom or the top of some of these little circles, that it makes them pop even more. And then I've put a few dots around the edge of the glow flowers. The couple of last things we need to do is we're going to put some paint splatters on it. I love paint splatters. I'm going to be using Paper Artsy Snowflake, which is the colour. Oh, there you go. And I'm just going to water it down a little. Perhaps that's a little too much, and I'm going to use my fan brush here to apply the splatters. Gentle tapping, otherwise it's going to fly everywhere all over your work surface. Probably a bit too generous on the amount of paint that I put onto my mat, but hey. So there we have, and then my paintbrush goes directly into my water. Otherwise the paintbrush tends to stick with it. Let me clear all of this off. Then the very last thing I'm going to do is punch a hole in the top of my tag when that is dry. To do that, I'll be using my Big Bite. I've got a template, so all of the 24 days of tags, I'll punch them in exactly the same way. And then I just chose some ribbons that coordinated with the colour of my tags. The length of the ribbon is 34 centimetres. I think that's a great proportion for the size tag that we've got. I'm just being careful because that's wet. Thanks so much for watching. I would love to see what you make, and I'll be back again soon. Bye for now.